Dr. Zefkari stood outside the thick metal door and felt tired, very tired. His blue skin had lost its bright color over the past 3 years. His 4 eyes looked at the damage report on his tablet. Another researcher was in the medical bay. Another expensive machine was broken. Another day of failure. Inside the room behind the door lived the most dangerous creature he had ever studied. Her name was Kiravel, and she was unlike anything in the galaxy. She looked like a young girl, but she was not like any girl from any known world. Her skin was silver, and it glowed with strange lights that moved across her body like living things. She had 4 arms instead of 2, and each arm ended in claws that could cut through metal. Kiravel belonged to a species called the Netherians. They came from a dark planet far from any star. No one knew much about them because they were too violent to study safely. Every time someone tried to make contact with the Netherians, people died, ships were destroyed. Whole research stations went silent. 3 years ago, a trading ship found Kiravel floating in space inside a small escape pod. She was alone and very young. The traders thought they could help her. They were wrong. She attacked them the moment they opened the pod. 2 traders died before they could put her to sleep with drugs. The Galactic Council decided to send her to Dr. Zefkari's research station. He was the best at working with dangerous alien species. If anyone could figure out how to make Kiravel safe, it would be him. The Council had big dreams. They wanted to learn how to talk to the Netherians. They wanted to make peace with them. They wanted to bring them into the galactic community. Dr. Zefkari had tried everything he knew. He used the most advanced mind control machines in the galaxy. He tried drugs that were supposed to make violent creatures calm. He brought in the best behavior experts from 12 different worlds. He even tried surgery to remove the parts of her brain that made her angry. Nothing worked. Kiravel fought every day. She screamed and clawed at the walls of her room. The walls were made of the strongest metal known to science, but she still left deep scratches in them. The lights in her skin would flash bright red when she was angry, which was almost always. She threw her food at anyone who brought it. She broke every toy or book they gave her. The worst part was what happened to the researchers who tried to help her. Dr. Meltara had tried to touch her gently, the way you might pet a scared animal. Kiravel had grabbed her arm and broken 3 bones before the guards could stop her. Dr. Quintush had tried using music to calm her down. She had thrown a metal bowl at his head so hard that he was unconscious for 2 days. 17 researchers had been hurt trying to work with Kiravel. The medical bay was always busy fixing broken bones and deep cuts. The other scientists were scared to go near her room. Some had asked to be transferred to other projects. Others had nightmares about the glowing silver girl who seemed to hate everything and everyone. Dr. Zefkari looked at his latest test results. Kiravel's brain scans showed that she was very smart, maybe even smarter than most adult aliens, but her intelligence made her more dangerous, not less. She learned how to break new things faster than they could build them. She found weak spots in their security systems. She even learned some of their language, but only so she could threaten them better. The young Netherian had been in the research station for 3 years now. In all that time, she had never shown even a tiny bit of kindness or friendship. She had never played with a toy. She had never smiled. She had never done anything except try to hurt people and break things. Yesterday, Dr. Zefkari had received a message that made his heart sink. The Galactic Council was giving up. They had spent millions of credits and 3 years of time, and they had nothing to show for it. The message was clear. If Dr. Zefkari could not make progress with Kiravel in the next month, they would end the project. Everyone knew what end the project meant. They would kill Kiravel. The Council had decided that the Netherians were too dangerous to live near other species. If this one young girl could not be made safe, then none of them could be trusted. Dr. Zefkari did not want to kill Kiravel. She was just a child, even if she was a deadly one. But he also could not think of anything else to try. He had used all the best science in the galaxy. He had followed all the rules for working with dangerous species. He had done everything right, and it had all failed. He was about to turn away from Kiravel's door when his assistant came running down the hall. The assistant was breathing hard and looked excited. "Doctor," the assistant said, "there is someone here to see you, a human. She says she wants to work with the Netherian girl." Dr. Zefkari was surprised. Humans were new to the galactic community. They had only joined 5 years ago, and most aliens still thought of them as primitive. Their technology was hundreds of years behind everyone else's. Their science was basic. Their understanding of alien psychology was almost nothing. A human? Dr. Zefkari asked. What could a human possibly do that we cannot do? The assistant shrugged. She says she has experience with difficult children. She wants to try a different approach. Dr. Zefkari almost laughed. The most advanced minds in the galaxy had failed to help Kiravel. What could one primitive human do? But then he thought about the message from the council. He thought about having to kill a young girl because no one could figure out how to help her. Maybe it was time to try something different, even if that something seemed impossible. Bring the human to my office, Dr. Zefkari said. Let me hear what she has to say. As his assistant ran back down the hall, Dr. Zefkari looked at Kiravel's door one more time. Behind that door was a creature that had defeated the best science in the galaxy. Tomorrow, a primitive human would try to do what no one else could do. Dr. Zefkari did not believe it would work, but for the first time in months, he felt a tiny bit of hope. Lisa Morgan was not what Dr. Zefkari had expected. She was tall for a human, with short brown hair and calm blue eyes. She wore simple clothes and carried a small bag over her shoulder. When she walked into his office, she did not seem nervous or scared. She looked around at all the alien technology with interest, but not surprise. Thank you for seeing me, Doctor, Lisa said. Her voice was quiet and steady. I know this must seem strange to you. Dr. Zefkari studied the human carefully. Miss Morgan, I have read your file. You work with difficult human children on your homeworld. But Kiravel is not a human child. She is a deadly alien who has hurt many people. What makes you think you can help her when our best scientists have failed? Lisa sat down in the chair across from his desk. May I ask you something, Doctor? In all your attempts to help Kiravel, did anyone ever just sit with her? Did anyone ever talk to her like a person instead of a test subject? The question made Dr. Zefkari uncomfortable. We tried many forms of communication. We played recordings of soothing sounds from her homeworld. We showed her pictures and videos. We even tried telepathic contact. But did anyone ever just sit with her and talk? Lisa asked again. Dr. Zefkari realized he did not have a good answer. The safety protocols do not allow extended personal contact. She is too dangerous. Lisa nodded slowly. I understand why you think that, but sometimes the most dangerous children are the most scared children. Sometimes they attack because they think everyone wants to hurt them. She has attacked every person who has tried to help her, Dr. Zefkari said. How can you be sure she will not attack you? Lisa opened her small bag and pulled out a worn book and a wrapped sandwich. I can't be sure, but I think it's worth the risk. Will you let me try? Dr. Zefkari wanted to say no. The idea of sending this fragile human into a room with Kiravel seemed like murder, but he thought about the council's deadline. He thought about what would happen to Kiravel if nothing changed. If I allow this, he said, you must understand the risks. We will have guards ready to help you, but they might not be fast enough. Kiravel could kill you in seconds. I understand, Lisa said, but I think she won't. An hour later, Lisa stood outside Kiravel's door. Through the small window, she could see the young Netherian pacing around the room like a caged animal. Kiravel's silver skin was flashing with angry red lights. Her forearms moved constantly, claws scratching at the air. Dr. Zefkari and his team watched from the observation room above. They had cameras recording everything. Medical scanners tracked both Lisa and Kiravel's vital signs. Guards stood ready to rush in if something went wrong. Are you certain about this? Dr. Zefkari asked through the speaker. Lisa looked up at the window where he was watching. As certain as I can be. The door opened with a loud hiss. Lisa walked inside slowly and carefully. She did not carry any weapons or protective gear. She looked small and helpless compared to the alien girl who could tear her apart. Kiravel stopped pacing the moment she saw Lisa, her 4 eyes focused on this new person with sharp attention. The lights under her skin turned from red to yellow, which meant she was confused. She had never seen a human before. Lisa sat down on the floor near the door, but not too close to Kiravel. She pulled out her sandwich and unwrapped it slowly. Then she opened her book and began to read out loud. Once upon a time, Lisa said in a gentle voice, there was a little girl who lived in a big forest. She was lost and scared, and she didn't know how to find her way home. Kiravel tilted her head, listening. The story was in a language she had learned from the researchers, but this human's voice was different. It was warm and kind, not cold and scientific. Lisa continued reading. The story was about a lost girl who met different animals in the forest. Some animals tried to help her, but she was too scared to trust them. She ran away from everyone who tried to be kind to her. Kiravel moved closer, but not close enough to attack. She crouched down and watched Lisa with all four eyes. The lights under her skin slowly changed from yellow to blue, which meant she was curious. The little girl in the forest was very lonely, Lisa read. She wanted friends, but she had forgotten how to make them. She had been alone for so long that she only remembered how to be afraid. For the first time in 3 years, Kiravel made a sound that was not angry. It was soft and questioning, almost like a whisper. Lisa looked up from her book and smiled at the young alien. Hello, Kiravel. My name is Lisa. Would you like to hear more of the story? Kiravel did not answer with words, but she sat down on the floor. She kept her distance, but she was listening. Lisa read for 2 hours. She told Kiravel about the lost girl in the forest, about brave animals who tried to help, and about learning to trust again. When the story was finished, Lisa closed the book and stood up slowly. I'll come back tomorrow, she said, if you want me to. As Lisa walked toward the door, Kiravel made another soft sound. It almost sounded like she was trying to say something, but the words would not come. In the observation room, Dr. Zefkari stared at the screens in amazement. For 2 hours, Kiravel had not attacked. She had not screamed or thrown things. She had not even shown her claws. She had just listened to a simple story. How is this possible? One of the other researchers asked. Dr. Zefkari shook his head. He had no scientific explanation for what he had just seen. According to everything he knew about Netherian behavior, Kiravel should have attacked Lisa the moment she entered the room. The next day, Lisa returned with another story and another sandwich. This time, Kiravel was waiting for her. The young alien sat down as soon as Lisa came in, and the lights under her skin were already blue with curiosity. Lisa read about brave knights and kind princesses. She told stories about children who found homes and families who loved them. After each story, she would talk to Kiravel in simple words about her own life on Earth. I work with children who are sad or angry, Lisa explained. Some of them have been hurt by bad people. Some of them have lost their families. They don't trust anyone at first, just like you. Kiravel listened to every word. Sometimes she would tilt her head when she heard something interesting. Sometimes the lights under her skin would change colors. On the 3rd day, something amazing happened. When Lisa finished reading, Kiravel crawled a little closer. She reached out with one of her 4 hands and carefully touched the book. Would you like to hold it? Lisa asked. Kiravel pulled her hand back quickly, but then reached out again. This time she let Lisa place the book in her clawed hands. She looked at the pictures on the cover with wonder. In the observation room, Dr. Zefkari watched with growing excitement. No one had ever been able to give Kiravel anything without her throwing it or breaking it. But she held Lisa's book like it was made of precious crystal. Incredible, one of the researchers whispered. She's actually being gentle. Day by day, week by week, something beautiful began to happen. Kiravel started to trust Lisa. She would sit closer during story time. She would make soft sounds that seemed like questions. The angry red lights under her skin appeared less and less often. After a month, Kiravel spoke her first words to Lisa. They were in her own language, but Lisa could tell from her tone that they were not threats. They sounded like a child trying to say thank you. Dr. Zefkari had to admit that the impossible was happening. The most dangerous creature in the galaxy was learning to be gentle, and all because one human had treated her with kindness. 3 months had passed since Lisa first entered Kiravel's room. The change in the young Netherian was so complete that even Dr. Zefkari sometimes forgot how dangerous she used to be. Where once there had been a wild, violent creature, now there was something that looked much more like a curious child. Kiravel had learned to speak basic galactic standard, the common language used throughout the space stations. Her voice was soft and musical, nothing like the screams and growls she used to make. She asked Lisa questions about everything, about the stories in her books, about Earth, about what it was like to have friends. "Lisa," Kiravel said one afternoon as they sat together reading, "why do the people in your stories always help each other? On my world, everyone fights all the time." Lisa looked up from the picture book they were sharing. Kiravel was holding it carefully with two of her hands, while pointing at a drawing with a third hand. Her fourth hand was gently touching Lisa's arm, something she did when she felt nervous or needed comfort. "Well," Lisa said, "I think people help each other because it makes everyone happier. When you're kind to someone, they usually want to be kind back to you." Kiravel's skin patterns shifted to a soft green color, which Lisa had learned meant she was thinking hard about something. "But what if they try to hurt you instead?" "Sometimes that happens," Lisa admitted. "Some people are scared or angry, and they don't know how to be kind yet, but that doesn't mean we should stop trying." This was the kind of conversation that amazed Dr. Zefkari every time he heard it. Kiravel was not just learning language, she was learning ideas that her species was supposed to be incapable of understanding. Concepts like kindness, friendship, and trust were thought to be completely foreign to Netherian minds. The other researchers had started coming to watch Lisa and Kiravel through the observation windows. At first, they came because they didn't believe the reports. They expected to see the same violent creature they remembered. Instead, they saw a young girl who laughed at funny stories and asked thoughtful questions about the pictures in Lisa's books. Dr. Meltara, whose arm Kiravel had broken months ago, was the most surprised of all. "I can't believe this is the same creature," she whispered to Dr. Zefkari as they watched Lisa teaching Kiravel a simple human song. "The genetic scans confirm it," Dr. Zefkari replied. "It's definitely the same individual, but her behavior patterns have changed completely." Below them, Kiravel was trying to clap along with the song using all four of her hands. She kept getting the rhythm wrong and laughing at her mistakes. Her skin glowed with happy blue and purple patterns that pulsed in time with her laughter. "How is this possible?" Dr. Meltara asked. "We tried everything, every scientific method known to the galaxy." Dr. Zefkari had been asking himself the same question for months. "I think," he said slowly, "we were trying to change her instead of trying to understand her." The breakthrough that changed everything came on a day when Lisa arrived at the research station looking tired and sad. She had received bad news from Earth. Her grandmother, who had raised her, had died. Lisa tried to hide her feelings, but Kiravel noticed immediately. "Lisa sad," Kiravel said, her skin patterns shifting to worried orange colors. "Why Lisa sad?" Lisa sat down heavily in their usual spot. "Someone I loved very much has gone away forever. I miss her." Kiravel moved closer to Lisa, something she had never done with anyone else. "Gone away like my family gone away?" It was the first time Kiravel had ever mentioned her family. Lisa looked at her with gentle eyes. "Yes, I think so. Did your family go away too?" Kiravel's skin turned deep purple, the color of sadness. "Big ships came to my world. Fire everywhere. My mother put me in small ship and told me to fly away. I never see her again." Lisa felt her heart break for this young girl who had lost everything. No wonder Kiravel had been so angry and violent. She had been dealing with trauma and grief that no child should have to face alone. "I'm so sorry, Kiravel," Lisa said softly. "That must have been very scary." Kiravel moved even closer. Then, for the first time since she had been brought to the station, she reached out and gently touched another person. She put one of her hands on Lisa's arm, the same way Lisa had often comforted her. "Lisa sad, Kiravel sad too," she said. "We be sad together?" In the observation room, Dr. Zefkari watched with amazement as the two sat together, offering each other comfort. This was empathy, something that Netherians were supposedly incapable of feeling. From that day forward, Kiravel's progress accelerated rapidly. She learned to read simple books on her own. She started drawing pictures with her claws, creating beautiful patterns that told stories about her dreams and memories. She even began to show concern for other people. When Dr. Quintosh got sick with a fever, Kiravel asked Lisa if they could make him some soup. When a new researcher arrived and seemed nervous about meeting her, Kiravel stayed very still and spoke in her gentlest voice so she wouldn't scare him. The most remarkable change was in how she used her physical abilities. Kiravel was still incredibly strong and fast, but now she used those gifts to help instead of hurt. She could reach high shelves with her long arms to get things for the researchers. Her sharp claws, once used as weapons, now created delicate artwork and helped her turn the pages of books very carefully. Lisa started bringing other humans to meet Kiravel. Each time, Kiravel was shy at first, but she remembered what Lisa had taught her about being kind to new people. She would offer to share her books or show them her drawings. Dr. Zefkari began to write detailed reports about Kiravel's transformation, but every time he tried to explain what had happened in scientific terms, he found himself at a loss. There was no theory that could explain how simple kindness had succeeded where advanced technology had failed. One day, he asked Lisa directly, "What did you do that we could not do? What is your secret?" Lisa thought about the question for a long time. "I don't think I did anything special," she said finally. "I just treated her like a person instead of a problem to be solved." "But our methods are based on centuries of research," Dr. Zefkari protested. "We used the most advanced techniques for behavioral modification." "Maybe that was the problem," Lisa said gently. Kiravel didn't need to be modified. She needed to be understood. She needed someone to care about her feelings, not just her behavior. Dr. Zefkari looked through the window at Kiravel, who was carefully teaching a new researcher how to hold a book without tearing the pages. Her skin glowed with patient, happy colors as she showed him the proper way to turn each page. "She's not the same creature we brought here," he said quietly. "No," Lisa agreed. "But I don't think she changed. I think she just finally felt safe enough to show us who she really was underneath all that fear and anger." As if she could hear them talking about her, Kiravel looked up and waved at them with two of her hands while continuing to help the researcher with the other two. Her smile was bright and genuine, full of the joy that comes from having friends and feeling loved. Dr. Zefkari realized that in trying to tame Kiravel, they had been thinking about the problem all wrong. You cannot tame someone who is already intelligent and feeling. You can only help them heal from whatever has hurt them and give them reasons to trust again. The impossible had become possible, and it had happened through something as simple as treating a frightened child with kindness and respect. News of what happened with Kiravel spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Dr. Zefkari's reports were read by scientists on hundreds of worlds. Videos of Kiravel laughing and playing with Lisa were watched by millions of beings who had never believed such a thing was possible. The Galactic Council called for an emergency meeting. Representatives from every major civilization gathered to discuss what they were calling the human method. For the first time in galactic history, the most advanced species in the universe were asking a primitive world for help. Admiral Kate Bennett, the human representative to the council, received dozens of requests every day. The Velthari, a species of living crystal beings, had been considered too alien for normal contact. They communicated through light patterns that hurt most species' eyes and made sounds that could shatter glass. No one had ever successfully talked to them for more than a few minutes. The Zarquan presented an even bigger challenge. They were a hive mind species that thought as one giant group instead of individuals. Every attempt to communicate with them had failed because other species could not understand how to talk to thousands of minds at once. There were dozens of other species with similar problems. The Mordaki were too aggressive, the Silveran were too fearful, the Kethron were so logical that they could not understand emotions at all. Each species had been labeled as incompatible and left alone. But now, seeing what Lisa had accomplished with Kiravel, the galaxy was asking a new question. What if the problem was not with these species, but with how others had tried to reach them? Lisa found herself being asked to train other humans for what the media was calling impossible species contact. She was not sure she was the right person to teach others, but she agreed to try. The first volunteer was Amy Parker, a teacher from Earth who worked with children who had learning difficulties. Amy was chosen to work with the Velthari because she was good at finding new ways to communicate with people who struggled with normal language. Amy's first meeting with the Velthari was held on a neutral space station. The crystal beings stood 8 feet tall and looked like walking sculptures made of colored glass. When they tried to communicate, their bodies flashed with light so bright that most people needed special glasses to look at them. But Amy had an idea. Instead of trying to dim their lights or protect her eyes, she brought something else, a room full of colored glass panels and light projectors. When the Velthari began flashing their communication patterns, Amy used the equipment to flash patterns back. It took hours of patient work, but eventually Amy began to understand. The Velthari were not trying to hurt anyone with their bright lights. They were trying to share something beautiful. Their light patterns were like music made visible, and they wanted others to enjoy their songs. Dr. Zefkari watched the reports from Amy's work with amazement. She's treating their communication method as art instead of a problem, he told Lisa during one of their regular video calls. That's what humans do, Lisa replied. We try to find the beauty in differences instead of seeing them as obstacles. The next success came with Kate Williams, an engineer who specialized in working with complex computer systems. She was assigned to make contact with the Zarquan hive mind. Other species had failed to communicate with the Zarquan because they kept trying to find one individual to talk to. But Kate understood that the hive mind was like a giant computer network. Instead of looking for one voice, she learned to listen to the whole song. Kate set up communication systems that could handle thousands of voices at once. She learned to speak to the entire hive and to listen when they all spoke back together. What she discovered amazed everyone. The Zarquan were not cold or emotionless. They felt emotions as a group, and those group feelings were incredibly strong and beautiful. Imagine, Kate explained in her report, feeling the love of 1,000 parents for their children all at the same time. Imagine sharing the joy of every birthday party and the sadness of every loss. That's how the Zarquan experience life. Each success led to more requests. Humans were being sent to make contact with species that had been written off as hopeless cases, and in each case the same pattern emerged. The problem was not that these species were impossible to understand. The problem was that no one had tried to understand them on their own terms. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a child psychologist, made friends with the Mordaki by recognizing that their aggression came from fear. They lived on a world where everything was dangerous, so they had learned to attack first to protect themselves. Elena taught them that not everyone wanted to hurt them, and they taught her how to be brave in the face of danger. Dr. Jennifer Brooks, a veterinarian, connected with the Silverin by understanding that their extreme caution was actually wisdom. They could sense dangers that other species could not detect. Instead of trying to make them braver, Jennifer learned to listen to their warnings and found that they could help prevent accidents and disasters. Even the super-logical Kethron, who seemed to have no emotions at all, opened up to Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a mathematician who realized that their logic was itself a kind of emotion. They felt joy when they solved problems and sadness when things did not make sense. Sarah taught them that emotions could be logical too, and they taught her that logic could be beautiful. As word of these successes spread, something unexpected began to happen. The species that humans had befriended started working together in ways no one had imagined possible. Kiravel, now fluent in several languages and comfortable around many different species, became an ambassador between her people and the galaxy. She worked with other young Netherians who were found or rescued, helping them learn that not everyone was an enemy. The Velthari began creating light music concerts that other species could enjoy safely. The Zarquan offered to help solve problems that required many minds working together. The Mordaki became excellent security guards because they were so good at sensing danger. Dr. Zefkari found himself at the center of a scientific revolution. Universities across the galaxy began offering courses in human empathy studies. The old methods of studying alien species, methods that focused on control and modification, were being replaced by approaches that emphasized understanding and respect. How did we miss this for so long? Dr. Meltara asked during one of their staff meetings. Why did it take humans to show us something so simple? Dr. Zefkari had been thinking about that question for months. I think, he said slowly, we became too smart for our own good. We developed such advanced technology that we forgot about the simple things. We could analyze brain patterns and modify behavior, but we forgot how to just sit with someone and listen to them. Lisa, who was visiting the station to check on Kiravel's progress, overheard the conversation. Maybe that's because you never had to struggle the way humans did, she suggested. On Earth, we didn't have advanced technology to solve our problems. We had to learn to work together and understand each other, or we didn't survive. The more Dr. Zefkari learned about human history, the more this made sense. Humans had spent thousands of years dealing with different cultures, languages, and ways of thinking. They had developed skills for understanding others out of necessity. Meanwhile, species like his own had advanced so quickly that they had skipped over those lessons. They had powerful technology, but they had never learned the art of truly connecting with minds that were different from their own. As he watched Kiravel teaching a group of young researchers how to make friendship bracelets with her claws, Dr. Zefkari realized that the galaxy had learned something far more valuable than any new technology. They had learned that the most advanced intelligence in the universe was not artificial or mechanical. It was the simple, powerful ability to care about someone else's feelings and to treat them with kindness, no matter how different they might be. 1 year after Lisa first entered Kiravel's room, the galaxy looked completely different. The new Harmony station orbited peacefully above the planet Centauri Prime, and it was unlike any space station ever built before. Ships from dozens of species that had once been called impossible now docked side by side in perfect cooperation. Lisa stood on the main observation deck, watching as a Velthari crystal ship created beautiful light patterns to welcome a arriving Zarquan vessel. Next to her, Kiravel pointed excitedly at each new arrival with 2 of her hands, while holding a datapad with her other 2. Look, Lisa, Kiravel said, her skin glowing with happy blue patterns. The Mordaki delegation brought their younglings, and the Silverin are here early. They must have detected that the weather will be good for the peace ceremony tomorrow. It was hard to believe this was the same frightened, angry creature that had been locked in a reinforced cell just 12 months ago. Kiravel now served as the head of interspecies youth relations, helping young beings from different worlds learn to understand each other. She was one of the most respected diplomats in the galaxy. Dr. Zefkari joined them at the observation window. His own appearance had changed over the past year. His blue skin was bright and healthy again, and his 4 eyes sparkled with enthusiasm instead of exhaustion. The final delegates are arriving, he announced. Tomorrow we will officially establish the Galactic Harmony Accord. Representatives from over 200 species will sign an agreement to use human empathy methods in all first contact situations. Lisa smiled as she watched a group of Netherian youngsters playing with Velthari crystal children in the station's central park. Their different forms of communication, bioluminescent patterns and crystal light flashes, created a beautiful light show that drew crowds of admirers from other species. It's amazing how fast everything changed, she said. Not fast enough for some people, Kiravel replied seriously. She had become very wise about galactic politics. The Traditionalist Alliance still thinks we should go back to the old ways. They say humans are making the galaxy too soft. Dr. Zefkari made a dismissive gesture with his upper arms. Let them complain. The results speak for themselves. Trade agreements have increased by 400%. Scientific cooperation has reached levels we never dreamed possible, and there has not been a single interspecies conflict in 8 months. This last point was the most remarkable of all. Before the humans introduced their methods, there were constant small wars and conflicts between different species. Misunderstandings led to anger, anger led to violence, and violence led to years of hatred and mistrust. Now, when problems arose between species, they were solved through understanding instead of force. The Galactic Council had established empathy centers on every major world, staffed by human-trained mediators who specialized in helping different species communicate. Amy Parker had become the director of the Velthari Integration Program. Her work had been so successful that crystal beings were now serving as artists and musicians throughout the galaxy, sharing their light music with species who had learned to appreciate its beauty. Kate Williams led the Zarquan Cooperation Initiative. The hive minds had become incredible partners for solving complex problems. When the planet Xerion faced an environmental crisis, thousands of Zarquan minds worked together to find solutions that would have taken other species decades to discover. Each of the impossible species had found their place in the new galactic community. But the changes went deeper than just adding new members. The entire way that species interacted with each other had transformed. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had established the Academy of Interspecies Understanding on Earth. Young beings from across the galaxy came to learn human empathy methods. They studied not just techniques for communication, but the deeper principles of respect, patience, and kindness that made those techniques work. The Academy's most popular course was called Seeing Through Different Eyes. Students spent time with members of other species, not to study them like scientific specimens, but to experience life from their perspective. A crystal being might spend a day feeling emotions the way a mammalian species did. A hive-mind individual might practice thinking as a single consciousness. These exchanges led to breakthrough discoveries that revolutionized galactic science. When Mordaki fear sensitivity was combined with Velthari pattern recognition, they created early warning systems that could predict natural disasters days in advance. When Zarquan group thinking worked with silver and caution instincts, they developed safety protocols that reduced accidents by 90%. But perhaps the most important change was happening in how young beings were raised and educated. Schools throughout the galaxy now taught empathy science alongside traditional subjects. Children learned not just facts about other species, but how to understand and care about beings who were different from themselves. Kiravel had become a popular teacher for these programs. Young beings loved hearing her story about transformation from anger to friendship. She would show them the scars on her room's walls from her early days, then take them to meet the researchers she had once tried to hurt, but who were now her good friends. The most important thing, she would tell her students, is to remember that being different does not mean being wrong. Every species has something beautiful to offer if you take time to understand them. Dr. Zefkari had been asked to write the official history of what the media called the Great Opening. As he worked on his research, he kept coming back to the same conclusion. The change had been possible because humans brought something to the galaxy that had been missing for thousands of years. Advanced civilizations had learned to solve problems with technology and logic. They could build incredible machines and develop amazing theories, but they had lost touch with the simple truth that intelligence without compassion was incomplete. Humans, coming from a world where survival had required cooperation and understanding, had kept those skills alive. They reminded the galaxy that the most sophisticated technology in the universe was the ability to care about someone else's feelings. On the day of the Harmony Accord signing ceremony, Lisa found herself thinking about how it all started. She remembered walking into that reinforced room where a frightened, angry girl was trapped by the well-meaning but misguided attempts to fix her. The ceremony was held in the station's Great Hall, a beautiful space where representatives from hundreds of species could gather comfortably. The Velthari had designed special lighting that was easy on everyone's eyes. The Zarquan had created seating arrangements that accommodated both individual and group-minded species. The Mordaki provided security that made everyone feel safe without feeling watched. When it came time for the speeches, Kiravel was chosen to represent all the species that had once been considered impossible. She stood at the podium, her silver skin glowing with calm, confident patterns, and spoke in clear, strong words to the gathered delegates. 1 year ago, she said, I was called untamable, impossible to reach, too dangerous for civilized society. Today, I stand before you as proof that no one is impossible to understand if you try to see the world through their eyes. She paused and looked directly at Lisa, who was sitting in the front row. A wise human once told me that being different does not mean being alone. Today, none of us are alone. We are all part of something bigger and more beautiful than any of us could create by ourselves. The signing ceremony was followed by a celebration that lasted 3 days. Species that had never imagined they could coexist now worked together to create art, music, and performances that combined their different abilities into something entirely new. As Lisa watched Kiravel dancing with a group of Velthari, while Zarquan voices provided harmony and Mordecai drummers kept the beat, she felt a deep sense of satisfaction. This was what the galaxy could become when beings chose understanding over fear, cooperation over conquest. Dr. Zefkari approached her as the celebration continued around them. "Thank you," he said simply, "for showing us what we had forgotten." Lisa smiled and gestured toward the dancing crowd, where dozens of species celebrated together in perfect harmony. "I didn't create this. It was always possible. You all just needed someone to show you how to begin." Looking out at the stars through the great windows of Harmony Station, Lisa realized that this was just the beginning. There were thousands of species in the galaxy, and many more yet to be discovered. Each would bring their own gifts, their own challenges, and their own unique way of seeing the universe. But now the galaxy was ready for them. Instead of fearing differences, they would celebrate them. Instead of trying to change others, they would learn from them. And most importantly, they would remember that the greatest strength in the universe was not the power to control, but the wisdom to understand. The impossible had become not just possible, but inevitable. When beings choose love over fear, miracles become as natural as breathing.